Hello chess fans, this is Rick from Chess to Impress. Coverage of Game 4 of the World Championship match between Magnus Carlsen, world champion, and Sergei Karjakin, the challenger. Game 4, Karjakin was white, Carlsen was black. We had a relatively slow start of the World Championship. Game 1 and Game 2 were short enough games. Game 3 was a marathon, and so was Game 4. Even more moves than Game 3, 94 moves and over 6 hours of play. Let's look what happened. Karjakin opened with e4, the same as in the second game, and we got the Ruy Lopez. Karjakin was the first to deviate. In Game 2 he had played d2, d3, and for this game he chose Rook e1. And we got the anti-Marshall on the board with 8 h3. Bishop e7, d3, d6, and now that the e-pawn is protected, black is threatening to play knight a5 and take the strong bishop on b3. So a2, a3 was played by Karjakin. One of the commentators, Grandmaster Lars Bo Hansen, said, well, if you play a2 and h3 in the first 10 moves, that is a bit tame to get an opening advantage. Position is about equal. Queen e7, knight bd2, rook fe8, and c3. They could have made a draw about 80 moves earlier if Karjakin had gone for the lame knight g5 here. Then rook f8 is the best move, and after knight gf3, then we have the same position where Carlsen could have played rook fe8. Of course that didn't happen. c3 was Karjakin's move. Bishop f8, knight f1, h6, knight 3 h2, with the idea to go to g4 with that knight and exchange the f6 knight, which is defending the king and also defending the important d5 square. Black wants to push d6, d5, and without the knight on f6 that will be more difficult. So d5 is played by Carlsen now, and queen f3. White is maneuvering his pieces towards the black king and is looking for a kingside attack. Knight a5, bishop a2, and Carlsen took in the center. D takes e4 and knight c4. And here Karjakin played a move that he thought was brilliant. Bishop takes h6. What is that? Well, let's have a look. If you take that bishop, then the knight on f6 is unprotected and white can take there with a good position for white. What Karjakin had seen is that Carlsen could have played knight takes e4, and then he was planning to sacrifice. Rook takes e4, bishop takes e4, queen takes e4, and g takes h6. And he has tremendous compensation. But what he did not see, the move he blundered, was Carlsen's reply queen c6. And Karjakin said afterwards that he was quite upset after he saw this. That might also have explained this next move. Bishop takes e4 is not a great move. Carlsen said that he got an advantage here on a platter. And after b takes e4, which is stronger than queen takes e4, b takes e4 clamps down the white pawn structure on the queen side. And black, after 19 moves, has a much better position. Bishop e3, knight takes e4, knight c3, knight d6. And now Karjakin has to show his defensive skills again. Same as in the third game. Rook a1, rook ab8, looking at the b2 pawn. As Peter Svietler, another commentator, said, this is a position after 22 moves that you can only dream of with black. Let's jump to the 40th move. White has just played bishop takes d6. As you can see, quite some material has been exchanged, but the advantage for black is still there. He has the bishop pair against bishop and knight, and especially the knight is not a very strong piece. The pawn on c4 is still clamping down the b2, c3 pawns from white, and black's king is a lot more active than white's king. Carlsen has a pawn majority on the king side and he wants to play g7, g5, but that's not possible here because of g3, which will cost him a piece. So he played bishop d8 first, king e2, and there comes g5, knight f2, king g6, and Karjakin played g4, bishop e6, bishop e5, a6, a5. Black is strengthening his position. And now an important moment. Karjakin played knight d1. He wants to activate his knight to e3, even if it costs a pawn. And Carlsen made a mistake here. He played f5, f4 here, thinking that he would win easily. But it turned out that white now was able to build a fortress. In a press conference, Carlsen says that in general he doesn't believe in fortresses, but he had to admit that in this case he had overlooked that white can build one which he wasn't able to break down. What he should have played was bishop e6, maintaining the tension on the g4, f5 formation, and then he has very good winning chances. Let's move to a funny moment on the 70th move. Here Karjakin played bishop c5 to e3, attacking the g5 pawn, but Carlsen did not defend that pawn. He played bishop d7, and if Karjakin had been naive, he would have taken that pawn, but then there's bishop b6, hitting the knight. The knight cannot move because of f3, f2. There is still bishop h4 to protect the knight, but then there's bishop e3, and if you then start to push that pawn g5, you're suddenly checkmated. Bishop a4 check, b3, bishop takes b3, checkmate. Carlsen was trying to pose problems, was bringing tricks into the position, but Karjakin kept a cool head, saw everything, and did not fall for these cheapos. After 94 king e2, f2, the players agreed to a draw. Black cannot break down white's fortress. Carlsen had tried everything. He had even gone with his king all the way to a2 and back, but he was not able to break through. What did the players say after the game in the press conference? Karjakin said, "I made a big mistake, 18 bishop takes h6. I thought it was brilliant, but I blundered. 18 queen c6 and I'm slightly worse. Then I was worse and worse and worse. Then it was losing. And instead of f4, black should have played bishop e6 and should be winning. After f4, I have a fortress. These were two very difficult games, but I have to keep playing. It is difficult. I have to keep fighting in every game. There's no way back. It is my job." And there was a tweet from somebody who said that Vladimir Putin has appointed Karjakin as the Minister of Defense based on his heroic defenses in Game 3 and Game 4. Karjakin smiled and said, "I'll be happy to." Carlsen said, I was handed a big advantage on a platter after bishop takes c4. It's disappointing. I thought I was winning. I don't believe in fortresses in chess, but I underestimated the chances that he could set up a fortress. I thought f4 was easily winning. I thought it would take a long time, but it would eventually win. But I was wrong. He is hanging on. I have to convert better next time. It's better to be attacking than defending. On to the next. Not think too much about it. And kudos to him for finding resources to make it difficult for me. Hope you enjoyed this overview of Game 4. If you did, please give it a thumbs up, please subscribe to my channel, and leave a comment if you want. This is Rick from Chess to Impress. Thank you for watching.